that sounds really loud. Does it sound loud to you guys? Is it normal? Thank you, AdventHealth, for inviting me. Thank you to Mindy Westland for specifically getting me over here. Dr. Mayo and Dr. Sago are both my surgeons. They're both fantastic doctors. As I mentioned, I'm Britt. I'm a natural blonde, and I'm known for my epic blonde moments. I mean, I'm fairly intelligent and pretty successful, but I have zero common sense. I can make you laugh for hours about how I thought the adult toy storage place in Altamont Springs was for something other than RVs, boats, and four-wheelers. I've mixed up heads of lettuce, heads of cabbage, scallions, scallops. I thought that the camper tops that you put on the back of pickup trucks, they're called Lear. I thought that was an adult literacy program for Spanish people, because I know that in Spanish, leer means to read. I mention this because my hair is my thing. I'm a Leo, my hair is my name. And in October of 2020, when I was sitting in my oncologist's office, having just been diagnosed with stage 3 breast cancer, one of the first things I asked was, am I going to lose my hair? And he said, probably yes. And for a while, it was the thing I became fixated on. When presented with bad news, my brain tends to hone in on one thing. It becomes fixated on one thing. And this time it was the loss of my hair. I was terrified of losing it for many reasons, including if it didn't come back in blonde, how was I gonna explain all those blonde moments that I was in? So after my second treatment with adriamycin, our friend the Red Devil, it started falling out. I'd be sitting at my desk and I would look over and there would be all these strands of hair on my shoulders. I would just touch it and it would come out. I didn't wash my hair for days, and when I finally did, it was coming out in clumps. And my husband said, Britt, you have so much hair, there's still a lot left, just let it be, let it come out naturally, it's gonna be okay. Couldn't do it. So I needed to take back control of the process. So I called my friend, a hairstylist, also my eyebrow girl, drove to her salon. I walked in. She had 90s gangster rap playing because she knows me so well. We cried, we laughed at the absurdity of it. She shaved my head and I took back control. Years before I was diagnosed with breast cancer, I went through several rounds of IVF to have my kids. And I had trouble producing eggs, so they maxed me out on hormones. And ironically enough, one of the things that probably contributed to my cancer diagnosis also gave me the tools to survive it. During my IVF journey, I learned the power of the mind-body connection. The revelation came on a yoga mat, in front pose, in a hot yoga class. We had been in the pose for somewhere between 2 minutes and an eternity. My husband and I had been trying to have a child for about 3 years, and I was stressed. I was in my head about it. But that day, on the yoga mat, in front pose, with my legs hurting, my hips hurting, pouring sweat, the yoga instructor said, pain is the greatest teacher. And if you're on a tough path, you just have to find a little bit of light and keep moving towards it. Because it will get brighter and brighter, and one day you'll come out on the other end of it and you'll be so much stronger for it. You just have to keep moving forward and you have to remember to breathe, like me right now. That was a profound moment for me. On that yoga mat, I cried that day, and I don't think anyone else knew because we were all so sweaty, like you couldn't tell the difference between crying and sweating. But I walked out of the yoga class that day feeling lighter, refreshed, recentered, and 2 weeks later I became pregnant via our last embryo transfer with our eldest daughter. 7.5 years later, after being diagnosed with breast cancer, after throwing a giant pity party for myself, sulking around for days, I had the same realization. This is my body, I decide what happens to it, and this cancer thing is not effing welcome, so let's get on with it. From that moment, I only allowed myself to think about the next step in the process, the next scan, the next chemo treatment, the next surgery, whatever it was. I'd cross one thing off and move on to the next. Now, don't get me wrong, it was hard. Going back to the hair thing, I hated being bald. My ears stick out, my forehead's super high. It's just like not a good look. I look like Gollum from Lord of the Rings with contour makeup. I got beanies, I had wigs, hats, I did all the things, but I'd take a shower and I'd catch a glimpse of myself in the mirror, and it just felt like cancer, the image staring back at me screamed cancer patient. So I cried in the shower, which is okay. You should cry in the shower. It's actually my favorite place to cry. But the trick is knowing when to stop. Knowing that you can't live there and you have to pull yourself out of it. So when I finished chemo, after my surgeries, after the radiation, when I was done with all of it and they told me I was clear, I battled the fear and the anxiety of it coming back. When I was going through treatment, you're always working towards an end goal, right? And once you reach that goal, I kind of felt like, well, what am I supposed to do now? I'm not really fighting for anything anymore. And I became consumed by this nagging thought of, you better be careful. If you have the cookie, if you have the glass of wine, you could cause it to come back. And to be honest, that voice was one of the biggest hurdles for me to overcome post-treatment. I still struggle with it at times. And that's the real fight, remembering and strengthening the mind-body connection, nourishing it, keeping yourself grounded and centered, and honoring your body that made it through the battle. Because make no mistake, we are warriors. And so the biggest takeaway I can give anyone from my cancer journey is that you have to believe you're going to be okay. To keep your mind focused and to not let it wander too far. To stay focused on the light, not the dark. To be realistic, but hopeful at the same time. Here's what I learned. The conversations we avoid are often the ones we need the most. When I was going through treatment, I joined a Facebook support group and I lasted 24 hours before I rage quit. I couldn't deal with the comparisons of what stage everyone was in and who had it worse. What I needed was to stay focused on the light, on the positive aspects wherever I could find them, but I also enjoy some dark humor and people who make me laugh. Like my radiation tech. He knew I liked 90s gangster rap and early 2000s rap, so I would show up for radiation at 6:15 in the morning, roll in with pajamas on, a coffee cup, take my shirt off, they put the weird mesh thing on your breast and start doing the thing. And he would always have a different playlist for me. And one of the best ones, he would play me the Jay-Z Grey album, which is like his black album overlaid with the Beatles' white album. It's fantastic. Those are the types of things that I needed when I was going through treatment. But I also needed to accept help from those around me, but I needed them to not feel sorry for me, because that was the other thing that I couldn't handle. Feeling like I had to make everyone else feel better because I was sick. So this is why I started Femmepress. It's an online community using funny stories like my blonde moments to bring light and positivity to situations where it can be difficult to find it. To provide support, share stories of strength and of sunshine, but to also share real talk about what it's like to go through treatment for breast cancer and come out on the other side of it. Femmepress is not just about cancer, but it's about the things life throws at us and that how we react to those things matter. Everyone gets dealt a crappy hand of cards from time to time, but it's how you play that hand that determines the outcome. So, Femmepress is about coming back to yourself, fierce, funny, free, with a side of 90s gangster rap. You can find me on Instagram and YouTube at Femmepress. I have a website, femmepress.co, because .com, apparently there's too many of them. And if you're not already signed up for the Breast Cancer Walk on the 25th, you can join my team. The link is in the bio on the socials. I'm building this community one honest conversation at a time. I would love for you guys to be a part of it. Thank you.